I've gotten 3 phone calls just this week, and you know what they all had to say? They said, I want to move to Bettendorf, Iowa. So what is it about Bettendorf, Iowa that everybody wants to move here? Well, let's discuss that very reason. So have you done any kind of research on the Quad Cities? You kind of know where Bettendorf is, but if you don't, it's really one of the reasons that people decide to move here because it's conveniently located within the Quad Cities. I mean, you're bordered by I-74 on the west side, you're bordered by I-80 on the north, you got River Drive right along the river, and it kind of is all intermixed and easy to get around within Bettendorf itself. So it's a big reason that people like it because of the convenience of it, where it is. It's next to the largest city in Bettendorf, which is Davenport. So you have access to all of their stuff as far as shopping, entertainment, all of the works. It's not that Bettendorf doesn't have its own entertainment because it absolutely does. And that's actually a part of the location that is really convenient because in northern Bettendorf, it has all these new things going on. I will tell you, just probably 10 years ago, it really wasn't that way. There wasn't a lot of restaurants, there weren't a lot of things to do. But what I like to tell people about Bettendorf, it's really hitting its stride. It's kind of got out of those teenage years where it was kind of awkward, but now it's really hitting its stride as far as developments and things to do. And in fact, that's point number 2 as to why people are wanting to move here, because it is really starting to hit its stride. It's developing up north, which is the Bettplex. It's got restaurants around there. It's got things like Twin Span Brewing. It's got things like Cookies and Dreams, which we actually took a tour of at one point. It's really, really developing, and they got bigger things, more than just restaurants and hotels and things going on. They have what they call the Iron T, which is supposed to open up here in 2024. I'm excited to see what that is, but if you don't know what it is, it's gonna be a Topgolf-like facility where you can go and hit the golf ball and try to get points and the whole works, and it's a big, big development. And if you're driving down I-80, you're gonna see it as you drive. It's just a huge facility, and people are loving that development. But that's kind of the newest and best. Overall, Bettendorf, though, is developing within itself as well. They have the Splash Landing, which is a pool facility. The old one was good, but it wasn't as modern as Bettendorf wanted it to be. So they tore that whole thing out, and they're building brand new right now as we speak. I'm not sure when that is supposed to be done, but it's really developing, really going for it. And it's not just a pool. In fact, they're gonna be bringing in the outdoor ice rink as well, a lazy river, the whole works. It's really cool. The ice rink actually was a spur of the moment idea from Bettendorf. They had an outdoor one that was temporary. They'd have to take it down, move it all the time. And now they've seen how well it did. They're building a permanent structure because they got all that development going on. And then in downtown, where is the oldest part of town, that's getting developed as well. They have big apartment complexes going up there and restaurants going in and just revitalizing that whole area. And it was really spurred on by the I-74 bridge project, which if you've watched any of my videos, you probably have seen that it was a huge project that went on, and it really spurred Bettendorf to try to revitalize that downtown. So you got 3 huge different things developing, and people really, really love to see that in their city. So they want to move here because they want to feel that excitement that is really starting to hit the stride in Bettendorf. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably like to be outdoors, and that's another huge reason why people are moving to Bettendorf. There are 24 parks in Bettendorf. I'm actually standing in one right now, which you probably can't even tell this is a park. It looks absolutely gorgeous. We're down by Duck Creek. The sun is setting behind me. It's absolutely gorgeous. The birds are out. I actually think I saw a bird watching group come, so they're gonna get able to see the birds down here. It's just really, really cool to see. And the thing about their parks is the city of Bettendorf takes care of them really, really well. They're out here mowing all the time, raking up leaves, getting the plants out there, or getting the weeds pulled. So they're really well maintained on top of how many there are. I mean, 26 for a town the size of Bettendorf is quite a lot, and they're not all like super tiny. As you can see, this one is massive. It's got a lot of green space, a lot of trails, and that's the other thing, is the bike trails in Bettendorf are phenomenal. I had a guy, one of the calls this week was from a gentleman who was coming from Vegas, but he was really kind of unsure because he really liked biking. But he did a little research and he found out Bettendorf has a ton of bike trails. In fact, I believe it's like 26 miles of bike trails in the town of Bettendorf, which is only about 40,000 people. So it's a ton of bike trails. And the cool thing about the bike trails, yes, 26 miles in Bettendorf, but those bike trails connect to the whole entire Quad Cities. So just because you got 26 in town doesn't mean you can't use all the other ones, because they're all connected. And in fact, they're connected to go across the river. The new I-74 bridge, I can't talk enough about. They have a bike trail that goes across the river so you can get onto the other side and enjoy the beauty that is the Mississippi. And all of that to say, this guy from Vegas was super excited to hear that, because he did not want to lose that part of him. And luckily for him, he won't have to, because there is so many bike trails. But not even just road bike, we have off-road biking as well. So during the winter, they have a club with the fat bikes, fat tires, so they get out and ride the trails that are a little more outdoorsy. So you have a ton of options, and people really like that here in the city of Bettendorf. Now, another one that gets stated a lot as to why people want to move to Bettendorf is the schools. Yes, I say schools because there's actually more than one school district within the city of Bettendorf. And the two school districts that are here are Bettendorf, of course, and then you have Pleasant Valley. So the two schools, and the thing about them is you gotta know where you're gonna end up, because you don't really know where that line is. A house on this side of the street is maybe in a school district completely different than this side. So if it's important to you, just know that. But people really like it, because Pleasant Valley is the #1 ranked school in the entire state of Iowa, and Bettendorf is up there pretty good as well, and it's #2 in the Quad Cities. So you got the best school ranking, and then you got the second best school ranking for the Quad Cities. So it's a powerful combination for people that want to move here. They see those rankings, they really want to get their kids into those schools, and it's a good thing. I mean, that's why a lot of people want to come into Bettendorf, because they do love the school system. But the thing about the schools that I mentioned is if you really set on a school district, you got to give me a call, because of that factor of one side of the street could be completely different than the other side. And if you want a specific school district, you're gonna want to know which one you're getting into. So my number is popping up down below. Give me a call, send me a text. I'd love to help you out. I am a licensed realtor here in the city of Bettendorf. So let me know if you have questions along those lines. Now, the next thing that people state as to reasons why they move to Bettendorf is not my opinion. This is just what people tell me. And that is because of the crime in Bettendorf. Now, I can't speak on it personally as a realtor, because it could be seen as steering, but people tell me they feel very safe here. I had a gentleman that moved to the area, and he said, I don't feel like I have to always be looking behind me in order to not feel like I'm gonna get robbed or mugged or whatever. And it's cool to hear that, because I think a lot of us in the Quad Cities kind of take that for granted. Now, again, do your own due diligence, because crime is such a touchy subject and is relative to whatever you're used to. So make sure you're doing your due diligence. But like I said, the people that I've helped move here, that's what they're telling me is one of the reasons they decided to move here, because they liked what they saw with the crime maps and everything else going on, and they felt like they were safe in Bettendorf. But again, do your own due diligence. Now, the Quad Cities as a whole has construction going on as far as when it comes to housing, but Bettendorf really is kind of the king as far as new construction. We have a ton of those developments, and as a part of that, people are building their houses around all those new developments. Even close to downtown, which is the older part of town, they're still building new construction. But the main bulk of it is definitely up north and east Bettendorf, where all that new construction is going on. They got new schools up there. They have the new construction. The thing about that is though, is it is going to be the more expensive part of town. So if you're wanting to get into a new construction, you're probably going to pay a pretty penny for it when it comes to the averages in the Quad Cities. But if new construction is your thing, or just newer construction, you're going to want to look in Bettendorf, because we have the most when it comes to the Quad Cities, and people really like that aspect, because sometimes you just don't want to live in somebody else's old house. Now the cool thing and the unfortunate thing about Bettendorf is that you are probably going to be paying a little bit more for your housing if you're going to be moving here. But the cool part of that is that just because you're paying more for the house doesn't necessarily mean your property taxes are going to be higher. Now, that's what I mean by that. So as a percentage, Bettendorf taxes are typically lower when it comes to property taxes. And you're probably curious, like, well, why is that? Well, I actually got to sit down with city officials and talk about it. And essentially what they said is they understand that the prices of homes are going to be typically higher in Bettendorf, but they still want to have incentive for people to move here. So instead of raising property taxes, they will take out capital money to fund work projects like construction of roads, remodeling of roads, infrastructure type stuff. So they take out capital money, as in loans, in order to not have to necessarily raise the taxes on the citizens here, so that you get the really good infrastructure, but necessarily have to pay the taxes. Now, don't get me wrong, you still have to pay taxes here. Unfortunately, it's just nature of the beast. But the city is actively working to try to not have to raise those taxes just to keep up with all the development. So they're taking on loans to really push the infrastructure and build it up around all of these developments, all these new construction, but trying to keep that tax base lower in order to incentivize more people to come to the city of Bettendorf. Now that you're thinking about moving to Bettendorf, you're probably curious at where you want to live. Well, here's the thing. I am a licensed realtor here in Bettendorf, and I do know every nook and cranny of this wonderful city, and I'd love to help you out. So if you're thinking about moving here and you just don't know which neighborhood is right for you, well, give me a call. My number is popping up down below. I am the one to answer all those phone calls, emails, and texts. But if you want to see another video, maybe take a look at this vlog here, because I will show you the whole town.